Game yesterday, I think it's a nice way to say. I mean, so much to break down from yesterday's game. And as you said, a lot of people haven't realised Arsenal are still on an unbeaten game run, but Arsenal do stay clear at the top after that game. But I want to talk Chelsea first to begin with, because I feel like Chelsea showed yesterday they are for real. They are a team now that's moved maybe away from the chasing pack and has moved into that sort of title challenging realm. Is on its way back to being the elite team it used to be, because I thought they were magnificent for large parts of the game and did a fantastic job with 10 men to get something out of the game. What did you boys think about Chelsea specifically yesterday?
Can I go, Jim?
Yeah, I thought they were brilliant. I think, if you do actually think about it, like Casado obviously got sent off and they were out Cole Palmer, so it's probably their two best players, and they're able to still obviously stick with Arsenal and compete with Arsenal, which is, I think, a testament to how good the team was. For me, I'm with Chelsea. I think I'm kind of in this weird in between stage. I think because I think they have the quality in terms of the squad, maybe because of the youth of the players, that the consistency might not bear. I need to see it more long term in terms of obviously, especially in the Premier League, because I think in the cup competitions, because they do have so much quality that they even Champions League, I think they would be an outside shot for that, because of maybe just on their day they're probably up there, and we've seen that they were against Arsenal yesterday. But I think, say in the summer, if you go back to summer, they had Donnarumma that was available that they could have potentially went for, and they probably need to bring in maybe another elite level striker, like we were talking about, like Osimhen and stuff. But they don't want to buy those types of players because it's against their transfer policy in terms of the way they bring in, and they'll buy players that are younger and that have potential resale value. So I don't know. I think there's only so far that young players will get them, and I suppose that's where I'm kind of in this in between stage of getting them to a level of, say, Man City maybe last year, or Arsenal, which are probably the current leaders in terms of outright quality. But I think on their day, they do have the levels to obviously compete with the biggest teams. So yeah, I'm kind of, the performance yesterday, unbelievable. Definitely one of the best performances from a team this season. With 10 men in the second half, they still were able to go on, went ahead. And then obviously Arsenal, with the quality they have, they were going to create chances. But taking that kind of next step to be one of the title challengers consistently, especially over maybe say the next few years, I think they're still maybe one step below that.
I mean, I get that. I would totally agree. I think for me, I look at the Chelsea team in the same way. I feel like they're going to be a very good team above, they're ahead of the rest, as in Newcastle, Chelsea, Newcastle, Villa, Man United, and Tottenham. But they're still some way off where they need to be against the top teams. Obviously not Liverpool this season, but in general, the Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal, the levels that they can reach. But I have to say, been really, really impressed with Enzo in these one-off games against big teams, and how he's got the adaptability. He only makes very slight changes, but these slight changes always have a big impact on the way that they play. We've seen it in a lot of the big games. So especially obviously Barcelona midweek, and then to do this against Arsenal, impressive. I think the setup, the way that they've been setting up, has been a lot better, and they've been getting that base and structure at the back where we can all sit there and say their centre backs aren't good, but they're managing to make them look good and make themselves at the back look quite solid. They don't give up too many clear-cut chances. And like you mentioned there, regarding the goalkeeper situation, as much as many people would have agreed that they need to level up on Sanchez, he's been pretty good.
He has, yeah. No, that's
definitely true. Yesterday. So, Chelsea are doing their thing, man. I think they've definitely got to get some praise. But then this is where I suppose the problem is with Chelsea, is with the money they spend, the expectation should be these types of performances on a consistent basis. But because they have so many young players, everyone has to adjust their expectation and be like, yeah, they spent how much, but because their players are young, they shouldn't be doing this. They shouldn't be performing this way consistently. So I feel like there needs to be a higher expectation on Chelsea. I think many people probably would agree with that, but they are doing better than what people expect of them at the moment.
Yeah, I thought yesterday they were magnificent. I love the aggression they brought into the game, but then in that you still saw the immaturity of this young team in Caicedo, because I think my personal feeling is that he was trying to prove he was the best midfielder on the pitch. I think the conversations all week keep saying it to people, the narratives that are pushed online get into dressing rooms. So always be careful with what you say to a certain degree. And he'd got away with 2 or 3 fouls in the game that he maybe should have won. With the accumulation, he maybe should have got booked. That would have calmed him down. There was a foul very early on where he clearly pushes Timber in the back and it wasn't given. And he kind of, sometimes in life, you get away with one thing, the next one's worse. And he ends up getting himself sent off. And that very likely, in my personal opinion, cost Chelsea winning that match. What I found very interesting after the game, and again, Chelsea fans, be careful of the narrative you set. I'm hearing these two sentences essentially come out of some Chelsea fans' mouths. We've proven Arsenal ain't that fucking good, while also saying we've proven how good we are. How can you prove how good you are if you prove that Arsenal aren't very good? It doesn't make sense. That means you stopped a team winning that weren't very good. How does that make you really good? It doesn't make sense. There is a disconnect in the logic there. What you did yesterday, now let's be fair to both teams, Chelsea demonstrated they are in and around that league title challenging level. That when they apply themselves, when they remain concentrated, when they remain compact defensively, they're a match for anybody. They're a match for anybody. And Eden, when you write some, you don't need to correct me on that. I said the word some very, very clearly. They prove they're a match for it. Equally, Arsenal not winning the game isn't proof they're not going to win the league, isn't proof they're not a top team. You can go back and look at the greatest club sides of all time, look at their seasons. They all drop points, and sometimes they drop points to teams that are getting relegated or not very good European sides. It happens, it's normal, and I think we have to stop this kind of overarching conclusion after every game, after every win, or after every draw. The league title wouldn't have been over if they won the game. The league title isn't crumbling because they didn't win the football match. What we saw yesterday was two very good teams go up against each other. It was at Stamford Bridge, and I thought Chelsea played maybe at the highest level in the league I've seen them play in a long time. Yes, they didn't get the win, but I think the red card played a point in that, and Chelsea deserved nothing but credit. I just love their tenacity, but it was the way they remained so compact and hard to break down when they went down to 10 men. And playing against 10 men has always been a hard thing to do in the Premier League. Chelsea kind of bucked that trend against Brighton and Man United this year because they actually became much easier to play against. We saw Everton on Monday just be very hard for Man United to break down. And yes, you get banter when you can't break a team down like that. And there is an element of criticism that's needed. But if you stick 10 men behind a ball and don't allow your lines to be broken, you stay resolute, you can stop it. But there was little things they did yesterday that I loved. Corners. They kept, even with a man down, they kept 3 players in attacking positions, which meant Arsenal couldn't put all their players into the box to defend, which meant Sanchez had all the room in the world to come out and catch the ball. Maybe that should be a strategy, 11v11 against Arsenal's corners. Have 2 or 3, 4 players in attacking positions, so they have 2 or 3 less in the box themselves to guard against counter-attacks, and therefore the goalie can just catch the ball every time. I mean, maybe that's the strategy to stopping all their set-piece goals. Maybe you've kind of stumbled across it in the moment, and it'll work outside of that. I thought it was a very brave performance from Chelsea. They should be proud of that. Now go on and win your next 2 games, like cement that performance and a really good week and show that you're in this title race, because I believe that they can be. But yeah, I was really impressed with Chelsea, and they deserve a lot of credit. And more, listen, Sanchez was excellent. I thought Enzo was great. But for me, the standout was just Reece James. Reece James is one of a very small group of players we've witnessed in the last 30 years who's truly world-class in 2 completely separate positions on the pitch. And you think about all the greats in the last 30 years of football, how many were truly world-class in 2? And I'm not talking world-class on the left and right wing. I'm not talking about world-class in central midfield, world-class in holding. I'm not talking a world-class centre-back who can also step out into a right-back position occasionally. I'm talking 2 completely separate jobs in a team. He's world-class at them both. Like the only other guy in Premier League history I can think of that genuinely did that, you got Ronaldo, who did it to a certain degree, but he didn't play striker at Man United. He only played on the right wing and left, same role. Ryan Giggs is the only guy I can think of. Rooney as well, maybe. But even then, he could go into the 10 and be world class. But very few players can do what Reece James can do. It's absolutely phenomenal to watch. Think about all the great players at City and all the great players at Liverpool in the last decade. How many were world class in 2 separate positions, genuinely? Don't give me Gerrard. Gerrard only played in central midfield, you moron. What are you talking about?
I when he played right back a little bit.
By the way, I don't put Scholes in that category. Scholes played 3 different midfield roles world class, but it's still midfield. I'm talking about a midfielder and a right back are not the same role. A left winger and a right back are not the same role. If you can do 2 roles world class, they're rare, bruv. They're like rocking horse shit. They don't come around often.
I would have only said Kimmich and Lahm. They were the 2 players.
Yeah, true.
Lahm, Joshua Kimmich. And Kimmich even then recently hasn't been performing to that like top level, but yeah, Reece James is just, and I feel like he's consistently disrespected, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, because he's been so injury prone. But he's one of these players that I've always maintained when he comes back from injury, he still is at such high level that he's still better than most of the players in the league. Yeah, you get a few like the Urian Timbers, for example, who like might push the needle and be like, "Oh, is he better than Reece James at right back?" Because he's been performing consistently for a long time. But for me, whenever Reece James does come back and he gets back to the level we know he gets to, he's just that bit ahead. Like, just going forward defensively, he's got it all on lock. Technically, like you say, he can play in the midfield because he's so good with the ball at his feet. He can make a pass. He could do every single facet of the game. And Reece James is just pure class. And I think that's the reason why Chelsea can compete with, despite the young team they have, they can compete with the likes of Arsenal, or try to anyway, in these games, because they have world-class players in a Caicedo. They have a world-class Reece James. They have a Cole Palmer, a world-class. They have real difference makers in the teams that just, like you say, when Tottenham had, Kane and Son, that would be the jump. And those 3 players for me are the jump for Chelsea to push them into those, higher conversations in these one-off games. They'll cause any team in the world a problem.
I think as well, like say with Chelsea this year, like last year they had the chance to be top at Christmas. They played Everton, they drew, and then they were second at Christmas. So like I think the performances they're putting in this year are probably a little bit more like improved and aggressive, and they're actually not relying on one player, which I think they maybe were a little bit reliant on Cole Palmer last year, and now they've kind of evolved. It'll be interesting to see what way they use Cole Palmer when they come back, because obviously Reece James is playing in beside Enzo and Caicedo. Estevao on the right wing is someone that like a lot of Chelsea fans obviously want to see him playing. Pedro Neto is playing really well. Like, what way will they fit Cole Palmer into the team? Will they be as aggressive?
Right back into the 10, don't you think? And then Reece James gets shifted out on right back, and they just sort of reset the system in this way. Like,
well, I think the balance with like Gusto and Reece James at like on that right side, I think they look a lot more like complete. And I think with Cole Palmer in the team, I think like what you were saying about with Enzo, he's kind of like I think you were chatting about it in the WhatsApp there the other day, Terry, about like box to box, like what is a box to box. And I think Enzo is one of those players that can be a bit of both. You know what I mean? He can do the defensive duties that I don't think that Cole Palmer would be someone that would do as much. Do you know what I mean? And he's kind of a box crasher as well. Like, he's very good at getting into the box, like running in late and then like maybe getting a goal and assist, like we've seen against Burnley. So it'll be interesting to see what way he does come in, and like will Estevao maybe come out, or what way he's going to do it. Because I think that midfield right now is pretty solid, and I don't think you should maybe go tinkering or changing things that's working well. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I suppose that it would be the natural one. Gusto comes out, Reece James goes right back, and then Cole Palmer goes in. But I don't know. It's probably a question Chelsea fans will be better at answering, but it'll be one that Maresca will obviously have to deal with, because I think right now we're seeing a really good Chelsea team in terms of the level of performances that they're putting in.
Yeah. Listen, it's a great problem. It's one of those, the phrase, it's a great problem to have. How do you fit them in? And it's one that I think managers would much rather have, other than, fucking hell, who are we going to play? How are we going to get through this run of games? It's a great problem to have. If I was Chelsea, though, even with Palmer coming back, I wouldn't upset the apple cart too much from how things are.
You wouldn't play him?
No, I'm not saying that. I would look at it. I wouldn't disrupt the middle or defense too much right now. I just wouldn't.
That's
I wouldn't.
The best player in their team, though, Terry. We have to be honest. Like, when
would you take out Estevao?
Well, I would put Palmer on the right. If I'm bringing him back into the team, I wouldn't mess with the central areas of the pitch. I think with Enzo where he is, Reece in the middle, and of course there's rotation that's going to come into this too. So there is, everyone knows my views on football. There is no best 11. You look at the Champions League teams. Well, if you look at the games this weekend for the Champions League teams, you were all playing Spurs, Chelsea, City, Liverpool, Arsenal are all playing 5 games in 14 days. So, for instance, in that period, you are going to rotate all of those individuals. You then get moments like this in a season where Caicedo is missing 3 league games, which now means you probably, you can shift that around. So Palmer's got a place back in the Premier League team. If he comes in and you maintain the levels and he delivers, nobody's place, by the way, should be guaranteed. I mean, if, for instance, if Reece James stays now as the DM and Enzo drops in and Palmer goes into the 10, and they're cooking on another level in these 3 games, then Caicedo might have to hold the bench. And I talk about that from someone who witnessed Sir Alex Ferguson be the greatest manager of all time. And we've just gone and watched Pep, who, yes, there was a couple of stalwarts that were always in his team. But do you remember what Pep would have a year where Ilkay Gundogan was the man, and then the following season he was nearly always on the bench? Or Stones would have a brilliant season, and the next year he wasn't starting so much. And it's because somebody else would come into the team and perform, and he goes, well, meritocracy, you're starting the game. And I still think with Rodri, if Calvin Phillips would have been there and without performing him, Rodri might have sat on the bench a little bit. Like, you need to promote meritocracy within your team, and rotation gives you opportunities for that. Suspensions and injuries give you chances for that. But if we're going to have like a basic conversation, I bring Palmer back in on the right, and I wouldn't upset the middle area of the pitch. And listen, as a City fan saying that's just cap. No, 100%. I saw your manager rotate players in and out, promote people through meritocracy because their performances dictated and deserved it. You went through that loads at your club.